good summer break and you're ready to get back to some fun this morning, we're going to be learning about another one of Jesus' parables. We're going to do some singing, some dancing and making some craft. So the first thing we're going to do is to start with our song, and it's called Ask, Seek, Knock. We know this one, so get some space and join along.
I'm reading my B-L-E-L-E, and this is what it says to me. It tells me that I'm never ever alone. I'm learning how J-S-U-S get down to us and make this best. But then I have the best friend you'll never know. Our God knows exactly what I need, so I remember this. Let's go! When you ask, He cares. When you seek, He's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, He cares. When you seek, He's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. I'm reading my B-L-E-L-E, and this is what it says to me. It tells me that I'm never ever alone. I'm learning how J-S-U-S get down to us and get this best. Now to death, the best friend you'll ever know. Our God knows exactly what I need, so I remember this. Let's go! When you ask, He cares. When you seek, He's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, He cares. When you seek, He's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, He cares. When you seek, He's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, He cares. When you seek, He's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. Our God knows exactly what I need, so I remember this. Let's go! When you ask, He cares. When you seek, He's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door. When you ask, He cares. When you seek, He's there. When you knock, 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 God opens up the door.
Hope you enjoyed that. I love that song. It's a really, really positive message. Now today we're going to be thinking about another one of Jesus' parables, and this is the parable of the Prodigal Son. Now let me ask you a question before we read the story. Have you ever made any bad choices? I know I have. And we all do, don't we? Nobody's perfect. We do make some bad choices. And this story is all about what God thinks about us and our bad choices. So the story's called The Big Spender. The people who thought they were good were still not happy with Jesus. They moaned, they grumbled, they frowned. It's not fair, they complained. Jesus spends all his time with people who make bad choices. Jesus heard this and told them another story. Once upon a time there was a man who had 2 sons. He loved them both very much. But one day the younger son came to him with a very sad request. "Father," your younger son said, "when you die, I will get part of your money and part of your land. The problem is, I don't want to wait. I want my money now. It was all the father could do to hold back his tears, but because he loved his son, he agreed and gave him his share of the money. That very day, the son left home, money in his pocket and a big smile on his face. He didn't even say goodbye. The father just watched, wiped away a tear, and hoped that one day he would see his son again. The son travelled to a country far, far away and spent his money just as fast as he could. He drank, he gambled, he used his money to do many bad things until the money was finally gone. The son looked for a job, but the only work he could find was taking care of pigs. It was hard, dirty work, and he was so hungry sometimes that he thought about taking the pig's food for himself. He was miserable, lonely, and sad. And then one day he had an idea. The servants who take care of my father's animals are much happier than me. I'll go home. That's what I'll do. I'll tell my father how sorry I am for wasting his money, and maybe, just maybe, he'll let me become a servant and work for him. Now, what do you think the father had been doing all this time? Did he say to himself, I have my eldest son at home with me? Who cares if my younger son is gone? Of course not. He loved his son, even though he'd gone far away and made some really bad choices. And every day he would go out to the roadside and watch, hoping that one day his son would return. That's exactly where he was when the younger son hobbled home, poor and hungry. The father ran to his son and hugged him tight, and the son dropped to his knees. Oh, father, he cried, I'm so sorry. I have wasted all your money and I'm no longer good enough to be your son. I've made some really bad choices. Don't be silly, said his father. You are my son. You will always be my son, and I am so glad to have you back. Then the father lifted his son to his feet and walked him home. He dressed him in a fine cloak. He put a ring on his finger and he put some shoes on his feet. And he threw him a big welcome home party. When the oldest son came home from work that night, he heard the party. What's happening? He asked. And when a servant told him, he was filled with anger and ran to his father. It's not fair, he shouted. I've been a good son. I've worked hard for you all these years. I make good choices. But he was bad. He wasted your money and now you're throwing him a party. I love you, my son, the father said, and you have enjoyed all the good things that I have. But your brother was gone and now he's back. He was lost and now he's found. He's made bad choices, but he's come home. I love him. That's why I'm having this party, because once again, my sons are back together. Now that story tells us that even when we make bad choices, that we can always turn things around. We can always go back and say a very special word. And the very special word is sorry. How many times do you have to say sorry? Quite a few, I would think. But it doesn't matter. Because to God, when we make a bad choice, all we have to do is to turn around and say sorry for that bad choice. And God welcomes us back. God is like the father in the story. He opens his arms and he welcomes us back. Now we're going to make something today to remind ourselves of that message. Now can you see? This is giving ourselves a hug. Because this reminds us of what it means actually to be part of God's family. And when we make bad choices, we just have to say, I'm sorry. Can you see? I'm sorry. And arms out. And God replies with, I love you. And the message inside says, even when we make bad choices, God always welcomes us back. And it's a good reminder that even when things go wrong, God will never abandon us. So what you need to make this is you need some coloured paper, some white paper, some white card, a couple of felt tip pens, a pen, a crayon, some wobbly eyes if you've got them. If you haven't, you can draw eyes on, some glue, a bowl to draw around, a small bowl, some scissors, and finally some sellotape. Now the first thing we do, if you take your coloured paper and you just cut it in half. Now to find half, if you fold it over first, and then you can cut down the crease. And then put it to one side. Now you need the white paper and you're going to draw around your hands. If you just draw around one hand, and then turn the paper over and you should be able to fit the other hand in as well on the same piece of paper. And you're simply going to cut these hands out. There's one, and I'll just cut the other one out. Right, put those to one side and then take your small bowl and your white card and just carefully draw around the bowl. This is for the face, and then cut it out. And there we go, we've got all our pieces and we can start to put it together. So this is where you're going to use your sellotape. So if you arrange the hands, one each side of your coloured piece of paper, and then stick them down. so it looks a little bit like that. And then you're going to stick the head in the middle. So just a little bit of it, a little bit of the circle onto the coloured paper. And it should look like that. Now, first of all, we're going to start with the face. So you can use a colour and you can draw some hair on. You decide what colour hair, what hairstyle you want to give your person. And then I'm going to stick my eyes on. Now you need to put quite a big blob of glue on the eyes. Now I'm going to draw a nice smile. And draw his little nose on there. So it looks a little bit like that. Now in the middle is where we're going to write our message. And the message says, even when we make bad choices, God always welcomes us back. Can you see? There's the message. Even when we make bad choices, God always welcomes us back. And the last little bit, we're going to start to fold our arms in just a little bit. So you fold into the hands, almost cover. Like that. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to write on the hands. And the first hand, the top hand, is where when we've made a bad choice, we say, I'm sorry. That's the hand on top, I'm sorry. Now if you lift that hand up, the one underneath is the reply that God always gives us. And it simply is, I love. So I'm just drawing a love heart and colouring it in. And there's your message, I love you. So when we've done something wrong, we say, I'm sorry. And we hear God say, I love you. And he gives us a great big hug. Just remember that this week. If you make a bad choice, it's never too late to say, I'm sorry. Let's close our eyes and let's finish with a prayer. Hold my hand, God, lead the way. Help me be good every day. Let me know what's wrong and right. Keep me safe day and night. Let me know what you have planned. Lead the way, God. Hold my hand. Amen. And I'll see you next time for another of Jesus' wonderful stories. Bye.